Get serious.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're welcome to the Community Development Advisory Committee meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. What, 4:05? Thereabouts? Yeah, 4:05.
Close.
Okay. We didn't have previous minutes, correct? We didn't see any.
No.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing to review with previous minutes. So let's move right along. Let's hit the master plan.
Sure.
What do we got?
Hey, we have an exciting day today.
Let's do it.
Did I say that last month?
Yeah.
Rich has a little present. Did anybody see the presentation before the meeting?
I looked at all the breakdown of everything.
When did it come?
From John?
No, when?
This John?
It was
A
part
week
of the
ago?
email. Yeah.
Today?
No.
Like a week
A
ago.
week
I did look
ago.
at it then. I know I looked at something, yeah.
Like a presentation-y thing?
Yeah.
Cool.
Like a thing.
I could've-
Well, so it's all the survey results and all the workshop results. So I won't go through all of it right now, but we do have it as a reference for the rest of this process. But I'll go over kind of high-level insights that I think will be helpful, and then we'll start thinking about the vision statement. So keep that in mind as we're going through these results of, what kind of trends, what unique parts of Warren can we add into this vision statement that's coming through. So the first thing, so this is the timeline that I presented in January. It's also a brag that we are 6 months in, we're on schedule. So we're
Nice.
at June on the vision statement. We completed the kickoff, the survey, the workshop, and starting in July, as long as there's no schedule changes, we'll be kind of switching gears towards plan development, starting with housing. So this is the schedule of the order will go in the chapters, and I want to be as above schedule as this as possible because as we're coming up with new topics, anybody that you think should be here for the housing strategy meeting should definitely be invited to the July meeting. Same with economic development in August, if there's a meeting in August. And then transportation, town services, open space. I think that's what's going to make them most effective, especially since we didn't make a committee that has experts from all different types of town, just kind of took this committee. It's even more important to make sure everybody that's at the table is at the table. And these will really be the only monthly meetings that will focus on one chapter at a time. So for instance, if Sue isn't at the open space strategy meeting, we should postpone it. Let us make them a really efficient time, making sure people who are going to implement the master plan strategies are there when they're being created. So we're going to start with housing, and we'll be here, and I'll bring the chapter author every month so you can meet them
Okay.
and do that. For phase 2, we are in the process of applying for a planning assistance grant through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. That is due next week, so we're wrapping up a few things with Jim when he's back from vacation. But that will be for the second half, starting probably November, December. It came out a little late this year, so maybe December, January, but it shouldn't set us back in our timeline. If possible, it might be nice if CDAC has a letter of support for it. So if somebody can do that this week, I have some little notes to start it.
Okay.
But it might be helpful to introduce the committee and make our application stand out a little.
Okay.
So we'll be submitting that early next week. Cool.
Okay. I'm sure we can find somebody to work on that.
When's Jim back?
Cool.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we could
here.
do the survey results. Is the next slide there?
Oop,
I
sorry.
could do this too.
Sure.
So first I want to thank everybody for word of mouth with survey. That's the most effective every time, is hearing from somebody you know, take this survey. But as we're all, including me, getting better at promoting community engagement, I wanted to talk about the Facebook ad we did as another effective way to get the word out, especially because a lot of people from Warren tend to be on Facebook. That's kind of the place that can get a lot of attention. We spent $50 on the Facebook ad. We got 378 clicks. So their math is it's about 13 cents a click. As you can see from the amount of surveys we got, not everybody took the survey, but I'll always take it as a win if somebody's on our website at least being aware that a master plan process is occurring. So we find Facebook ads, especially with these local projects, are very efficient because you can really dial in and say, just show this to people in Warren. Thanks. So who took the survey? We had 186, 15 paper surveys, which is great. This is comparing who took the survey to the census population. For some of these, the numbers are so tight, especially the race and ethnicity. It's hard to compare. We could kind of see as we're going through these results, whose answers we're looking at. For income, we saw more from people that make more than $50,000 a year. For age, I'm pretty happy with this age distribution. This is for over 18 population. 11% or 21 surveys from people under 34 is pretty good. And you can see some of these numbers are in red, but they're still pretty close. So that's great. For race and ethnicity, again, it's a huge decline to answer number. So it's hard to say. And the numbers for Hispanic, Asian, Native American, Native Hawaiian, Black or African American are such tiny with margin of error. So this is what we have. For connection with Warren, 84% were homeowners, 12% were employed in Warren. So for the next slide, for housing.
Oh, can I ask
Sure.
what's the threshold on red, yellow, and green? What is?
Yeah, so throughout this, the next slides will be different, but for this slide, green is kind of in that percent of margin of error for the census of basically good representation. Yellow is,
Okay.
kind of there, goodish,
Yeah,
and
okay,
red I think could be a little bit better.
Low
Yeah.
represent. Okay.
But for this next slide for housing, since there's so many numbers here, because we did the matrix, I put the most popular answer in green and the least popular answer in red. So for instance, for this first question, what's your experience aging in Warren? See, across the board, strongly agree was the least popular answer. For questions, there's accessible options to downsize, there's options to enter assisted living, access to elder services, financially feasible to age in Warren. For the question below it, what's your experience with housing in Warren generally? The most popular answer was a strongly agree to Warren needs growth management, so that's something to keep in mind. But different answers for some of these different options. For instance, Warren's accessible to young adults and elderly residents saw this the least for strongly agree. People thought it was a little more accessible for new families, which is interesting when we're talking about types of housing that are offered, diversity of housing types. It's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Someone I know faces difficulties remaining in Warren. Was a somewhat agree, neutral. I find the cost of housing affordable was, the top answer was somewhat agree, which is great to hear. What are good streets to build new housing? This was a write-in, so the world was everybody's oyster. The top answer was no new housing, followed by the Mill Complex, followed by
No, the
No.
block.
Top right.
followed by Main Street, which is annoyingly vague. I'll have to get more specific with that. Followed by Coy Hill Road and Gilbert, which I drove on Gilbert Road today, and I was a little
Plenty of
surprised.
room to develop.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of room. That's
Just it's obviously one person owns the majority of the land on that road,
Yeah.
so it's hard to develop that road without them
it's
being
really
involved.
interesting.
And we'll have to talk as a committee about Coy Hill Road. This came up as a popular answer for housing, but also keeping it preserved as open space.
Mhm.
So for economic development, this first one here in the top left, the top answer by far was a write-in. We had an other option that you could write in, and 56 people said none of these apply or there are no jobs in Warren for all the options here. I hope it's big enough to read. But efficient commuting, stable jobs, options for childcare, workforce development, high-paying jobs. For Warren Center.
That's kind of like saying there aren't a lot of people working in Warren, right?
Yeah. It was also the question that had the least amount of people answer it, 123. So I assume Some people that skipped it too also thought some of the questions weren't too relevant. For development in Warren Center, 72% were open to diverse business opportunities, 14 for multifamily housing. And the answers were pretty different for West Warren Village. A little less on diverse business opportunities, but more for mixed-use development and small-size multifamily. And then we had 2 more write-ins. What are good streets or areas to open more businesses? Again, Main Street, downtown, Mill, and anywhere was the 4th answer. And what products or services do you go out of town for? Groceries, 100 people said groceries. Retail, restaurants, and medical.
Yep.
For transportation, what roads or intersections should Warren prioritize? Bike and ped. Main Street, 67, downtown, Southbridge, South, and that connector, 67, between the villages. And what are the most dangerous roads or intersections? Southbridge Road, underpass, I assume it's the one next to the Rotary?
Yeah,
Is that what people are talking-
right
okay.
under the railroad tracks, yeah.
Perfect. Main Street, downtown, and 10 people mentioned sidewalks.
Interesting.
There's a lot of numbers in this one, so we could look at kind of the high picture. This one is services. How satisfied are you with services? The next page has public facilities. So you could see which ones people were more satisfied with. The top ones are library and fire department. And which ones people are less satisfied with would be water, sewer, board of health, trash, and town website. And how do you engage with the community in Warren? The top answer was I don't, followed by schools, town events, town meeting, and special consideration. I didn't put it on here, but I think the 5th or 6th answer was Facebook. And then we had a second page for
That's
town
kind of
services
depressing.
and facilities. So this matrix is about facilities specifically. Unsurprisingly, historic town hall and police station was the least for very satisfied. Warren Library was the most popular. What would increase your involvement in local government? Top answer was more public awareness about opportunities. Least popular answer was more opportunities to serve on boards. And opportunities for improvement to the school system was curriculum, vocations, trades, college prep, sports fields, more sports programming, and less funding was the 4th popular answer.
Okay, so hold on, back up a sec. So
Sure.
what would increase your involvement in local government? So most people said they need more public awareness. But then the low on that was opportunities to serve. So people
Yeah.
want to know about public participation, but they don't want to serve.
Maybe.
So what,
Yeah.
like, they want to come to meetings, but not be.
Well, I think they just want
Right.
like
They want to vocalize.
well, that's it. They want to see the topics of all these meetings and everything we're discussing, but they want it in a short clip. Just hit me on Facebook with a little video of a recap of Warren's meetings
Yeah,
this
okay.
week. So here's all the hot topics in Warren. But nobody actually wants to take the time to come
To
and
come.
be involved. Because it
Right,
does
that's-
take
okay.
time out of your schedule to come and do it.
It does.
Where when I get home from work, I want to go and, hot topics in Warren. Click, boom, 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 boom. Oh, this was at the planning board meeting. This was at CDAC meeting. This is what happened here. But obviously, we don't have somebody who's going to sit there and make all that
Well,
stuff.
that's sort of interesting. Yeah,
But
I mean,
that's
if
what
we
they want.
Hired like, I don't know,
Which
high
isn't
school kid to like come up
No.
with the highlights for the
Yeah,
week,
the highlights of the week.
right?
You know, and give a recap of all these meetings we're having, but just the points that come out of each meeting that are important to the public, not the 30 minutes of discussion on each topic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, so in Ware, on their channel, public channel, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they have another program, which is what they do. They follow the selectmen's and all the other. It's called Meeting After the Meeting, something like that, where a woman, gives the details of what has gone on for the week. It's it's pretty popular, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I could see that being.
And it's
popular.
free.
Especially if you had it in easy to access points, like on the local broadcast, on our Facebook page. Like, those are the spots that it's just easy to click and quickly see what's going on.
You
So,
can also put it on the YouTube channel as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it doesn't cost anything, I don't think. It's all volunteers.
So it's like a quick 5-10 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 minutes on what happened this week in Warren.
It's not easy to do. You
No,
gotta wait.
Well,
you
no,
need, you
actually-
need somebody who's willing to invest some time
Yeah.
to break apart all these meetings and just highlight the points.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
actually,
job.
Yeah.
And especially that minutes are prepared for another week and sometimes another month.
Yeah,
There's nothing to go back on unless you physically went to each meeting.
each meeting.
To do.
Or watched each meeting, documents, like I said, and then take clips from it. It's like, that's a lot
That's
of
a
work.
lot of-
Yeah.
lot
I
of
mean,
work.
but that's, essentially, I think that's what people would love.
Hmm, interesting. Okay.
To provide that service is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
Our question for open space and recreation is what opportunities would you like to see more of? Over 50% said hiking trails. That was the most
I like
popular
that.
one,
I like that a lot.
followed by expanded use of water and playgrounds or parks.
Some more river trails, maybe, something
Yeah,
of that
river trails.
nature.
Combine those, yeah.
The only issue with that is the railroad track runs the river the whole way, so that really limits, you can't be on the side of, and it crosses back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
So your walking path cannot be on the same side of as the river as the railroad track is.
Yeah.
Because that's clearly property you cannot be on.
For natural and cultural resources, what buildings, places, or areas have sentimental value? Top 4 were historic town hall, Warren Library, the Common, and just general open space or recreation. And what are good areas to preserve? Top answer was anywhere. Second answer was nowhere. Third was Coy Hill Road. 7 said Quabog, which I assume is not the school.
Would be around the
Or
river.
Is it the river? Or the-
Yeah, around
okay,
the river.
That would make more
Quabog,
sense.
Along the river. Yeah.
Southbridge Street.
Southbridge.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe the farm area.
I was gonna say Breezeland
Yeah.
Orchards
More
up
south?
that way,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
So I was
Because
thinking-
6 people all live on Southbridge.
Yeah, preserve their road.
Yeah.
And last one is land use. So kind of bringing everything together, what would you like to see more of in Warren?
Yeah.
Top 3 were drinking and eating establishments, healthcare, and small retail.
Absolutely.
Less popular were offices, large-scale apartments, and single-family homes. For the 2 little pop-outs we did,
Yeah.
the first one, Wrights Mill, most popular were shopping, housing, light industrial manufacturing. Overall in the survey, people were very interested in having a mix of things as well, not necessarily just shopping or housing. And for what we've been lovingly calling West Warren, top answers are commercial, recreation, housing. Some people had ideas to put like a big box store that could attract people regionally to that area as something to put out. But yeah, those are the survey results. So then we could go over the workshop results. And for this, since we haven't had a chance to talk about the workshop, I'm happy to hear like if the people that took notes have something different from what you heard, or you want to emphasize something that was a big theme. That'll be really helpful too. Look at us though in the pictures.
Happy group.
I
Yeah.
was very surprised at how many new people to town were there. I recognized all the old faces that usually come to everything, but there were quite a few new families that actually came.
Great.
That was good.
Any other big takeaways in general?
There's a lot of good dialogue, I know that.
Yeah.
Very, very good dialogue. That's amazing. It's great.
That
And
is
it's
definitely
very well organized too.
Definitely good feedback on topics.
Awesome.
Comment had a complete split right down the middle, so leave it alone and, yeah, let's do something with it.
We could go into the first topic, housing. So the most popular answer was large-scale apartments in West Warren Village, and Dominique said everybody that said that was talking about the mill specifically.
Okay.
After that was mixed use around the town common. It should also be in green at the top right, senior housing in West Warren Village. Single family / small scale apartments on Southbridge. People do want to see single family on Gilbert, and some apartments on Coy Hill. Generally, we heard a demand for affordable apartments, open to developing the Wrights Mill for sure, a need for more starter homes, senior housing, that diversity of type again, some issues perhaps environmentally for Town Common and Coy Hill, more development, which is something else we could talk about, and rehab as the top theme for housing. For economic development, our similar exercise here with the matrix and stickers. Top was more love for Main Street Town Common, got more votes in general for walkability, grocery stores, restaurants, retail as an option that could be more commercial. West Warren also got a bit of love with retail, entertainment, restaurants, grocery stores too. Gilbert Road is on here because it was the top answer for the survey, but that got less love for the workshop. So something's getting crossed there. General comments spoke on the difficulty keeping businesses open, some grieving for the bank, talking about going out of town for most resources, thinking about can we get a big draw, like a store or an attraction or something that could bring more people to Warren from the region. Could we focus on ecotourism as an angle for economic development? Things like that. Transportation, these maps might be hard to read, but Santos Road, South Street sidewalk, Main Street sidewalk, Washington Street, and just overall frustration with the common. General comments, desire for Mass Pike, potential of Brook, Reed, and Gilbert Streets, sidewalk configuration around the Rotary, and sidewalks around schools and general safety.
So there was support for a Mass Pike exit?
Oh, yeah.
See, I think that's changed in 20 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, that definitely is something they didn't want as a whole. Now
Yeah.
the newer crowds coming into town would embrace it, I think, a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Because
It's
I
interesting.
think, I see it as a split in the sense that a lot of the people that have been here, grew up here, they don't want to see the town explode with
Mm.
growth. The people that have recently moved here would love to see the town grow more and have that access, that just
More
to be able to
convenience, right?
Convenience
on and off.
for work.
Hey, I'm headed to work. I mean, it's so much nicer not to have to drive to Sturbridge or drive to Palmer to go get on the turnpike.
Yeah,
And then again, like I said, that convenience tied in with, well, if you want a big store in town, you need easy access to it from lots of people. Well, an
How do you
exit
do
off
that?
the turnpike would
Yeah.
definitely allow you that access that you don't have now.
yeah.
Now people have to drive out of their way to get there, where if that happened, now it would be on the way. So,
Mhm.
which is, again, you get the positive and negative. You get all this explosive development, but it does start to take away from that small town feel that the people that grew up here, they love.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So maybe that's something that can be part of this is how do you put in a Pike exit and keep the rural character, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way to thread the needle?
Yeah. For open space and recreation, we got a little more specific with this one. So talking about 4 attractions in town. General comments was some modernizations, what I would call it, lighting, security, electricity, Wi-Fi even, more amenities, kind of things that could kind of revolutionize what you could do in a park. If you can do a farmer's market with electric and Wi-Fi for people paying and things like that. ADA access came up, need for capacity increase and more maintenance for our attractions and more love for Cutter Park. For natural and cultural resources, we asked. Sure.
Is that top comment under general comments?
Town common doesn't get used enough, needs bathrooms.
I wonder how we put that.
I don't know what happened.
No,
Why is everybody, nobody wants to tell me what happened.
Yeah, I asked too, and I got.
It's like
nothing.
CIA. I mean, I would,
That's pretty much it.
With what, the train?
The common, yeah, the
Yeah.
train station.
I was,
We didn't have an agreement.
Well, I know, but there was,
How could we go to?
there was no communication between the parties that were in the negotiations of agreement and then the rest of the people involved supporting it. So there was literally zero, so it was, we walk in with the idea of we're gonna promote, push, and basically
okay.
force everybody to fall in love with this idea.
Nobody-
To all of a
right.
sudden it was, hey, it's done, it's over, it's not happening, we don't have an agreement, it's not, we're out.
I was like, what?
Okay,
I was
okay.
shocked.
Yeah, I was,
Okay.
I would thought
And
they
it was
called
like
done
there was
deal.
no conversation, there was no information
And there was
shared,
like
there
saying
was
that,
nothing.
oh, we're gonna raise our taxes, and I'm saying, why isn't anybody saying anything? about
Because
it?
nobody knew the real information, and that information was not shared with the public, plain and simple.
Throughout,
Sad.
we should talk more about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, we'll get to that
Maybe the
topic.
thing would be to maybe have a joint meeting with parks or something at some point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, let's continue on.
For most frequently mentioned buildings or sites worth preserving, number one was Historic Town Hall, but there was discussion about benefits versus how much it would cost to maintain it. But this was the most mentioned in this activity and also mentioned a lot in the survey as a place that holds sentimental value. Number second was the Warren Public Library, followed by the train depot, the old bank building, Pine Grove Cemetery. I assume the Civil War Monument is the one on the Rotary?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And the community center was brought up as a desire for restoration, and Wrights Mill Complex. For the land use, we were almost unanimous in votes. So we voted for future growth pattern, and we had 12 votes for infill and rural development mix. So the overall idea was most participants didn't want to see too much high density, but said if it means we get to keep our rural area, then we could have a little bit more density in the village centers rather than sprawling out bigger single-family lots. And for the town common design table, we had comments for open to expansion for parking. Most people said lighting. Some asked for period lighting, cute. More garden space, generally more trees, bushes, flowers. And then some creative ideas for hosting different events, having some sort of water feature. Yes, definitely some comments for leaving it as it is as well, with some sentimental value for how it looks. And some discussion about how the Rotary plays into the common. And that brings us to visioning. So this was the last table that I'm hoping can help us figure out what the vision statement will be. So we had people answer, in 20 years, what will Warren be? What should we be committed to? What should we value? Some overall themes that kind of went throughout all different comments. Preservation of farmland, open space, beauty, preserving land, vibrancy came up, community, growing, friendly, welcoming, staying the same size. I like this comment, 21st century small town, exclamation mark. It's fun. Livability, education, businesses. So this we can come back to too, as we're thinking of ideas to put into the sentence of these more overarching themes and thinking about 20 years, what's the best thing that we could do. Cool. Any questions or comments, debrief about the workshop? Anything people heard that wasn't included or they want to emphasize?
I think that pretty much covered it.
So we can go into creating the vision statement. So your previous master plan does not have a vision statement, but it's usually included as a way to kind of put everything underneath it. So it's very high level, very, aspirational, thinking, what's the best case scenario? If everything goes right, what direction are we going towards? So we usually use more positive language, thinking about opportunities, thinking about assets, thinking about what makes Warren unique. What would you say to somebody who's never been here to kind of sum things up and kind of inspire people to love Warren as much as you all do? A focus on people, for sure, quality of life. So not always getting into more of the topics of the master plan, but more combining them and thinking about quality of life. And thinking about different voices. So I love to do this after going over community engagement to think about the different perspectives that are brought to this discussion. And I have some examples on the next page of different towns. You could see what you like about them, what you don't like about them, how you think Warren would be different. Boylston has a pretty long one that goes more bullet pointy, so they're kind of listing different topics: natural landscapes, children, education, strategic economic development, diversity of housing types, open cooperative government, recreational opportunities. Hopedale and Grafton's are a little shorter, but thinking about kind of patterns of development can show up in vision statements. Historic, open space, parks and rec, pastoral landscapes is in Grafton, open space preservation while continuing the housing and businesses necessary. You can kind of get a sense of what our vision statement kind of includes. So after all this, what jumps out of, what do we want our big, basically topic sentence of the master plan to be? We could throw out some ideas now and then wordsmith it later.
I like, under Boylston, the natural landscapes and the open spaces that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I just, for the first time, went to Lucy Stone Park and walked all the way around there.
Mm-hmm.
Since my first time ever, I'm living here for 32 years, and I've never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
The signage that has been put out was absolutely wonderful. I'm now taking my granddaughter fishing, so that to me was a great place for us to now go fishing. Much better than Cummins Pond because it's just too weedy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the open space and natural landscape of Warren is really important.
I like the historical side of how it mentions historical a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that.
Traditional New England
Yeah.
mill town, essentially what it was, and still kind of has that feel.
Scenic
So,
roads,
Yeah.
scenic back roads, something along those lines.
And we really do have a lot of history too in
Yeah.
our town for a
Yeah.
small town.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a city of opportunity, ripe for opportunity. That's, I think, the key thing. It's on the cusp of a lot of different things, whether the mill gets developed, single-family housing, it's so much, and it's really not that far from the Mass Turnpike. It is bad, I know, but we have to say, it's 20 minutes to the Mass Pike, so it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that?
either
I think
direction.
of that a lot, Steve. It's off the beaten path.
Yeah.
But it's close to everything.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is.
Again, it's okay for us going places, but generally speaking, people don't come here
Right.
because it's just off the beaten path,
Well, there's
and that's
not much for people to do.
becomes
Nothing to do.
exactly what are you coming here for?
You keep
Yeah.
on advancing things like Lucy Stone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a step in
Oh,
our
yeah.
direction. You know,
And that survey, the walking paths and things, I think that would draw
People travel for that stuff. You always hear, oh, I went up to Barry to do this trail, and then I went over to here to walk this path along the river or wherever. Like you do hear people saying of going to destinations for that purpose. And it would be nice to have more or something revolving around that.
What about developing camping areas? I mean, that's what people want to do.
Yeah.
And do we have that land to develop that?
I think there's
Land,
plenty
but
of
who-
land.
but who controls
you
that
need
land?
The people that own that land to want to invest in that idea.
Yeah,
And it's obviously, to start from scratch is
I know.
a very expensive
But that's what people
thing.
want to do, camp. I've never camped in my life, so
Oh,
I do love that
it's
town,
great.
Sarah.
I need a hotel. I'm not
21st century, well.
No, but it's awesome, you know.
Small, vibrant town.
Mhm. So,
Because there's certainly the opportunities are there to do things in the future with more involvement in terms of concerts and farmers markets and a lot of different things,
For sure. Anyone else? Any other things? No? All right.
We can bring up what's our vision for business development and housing, high level. Could see kind of how other towns have handled it, but curious what you think about Warren.
How do we lure a business in here? Not, that's the question. How do we get that business in here? Tax breaks, again, this is way above my pay grade, but tax breaks, how do we get business? We have to have land, somebody that's willing to sell the land and a potential business, whether it be the mill or something like that. How do we get somebody that's looking for that get jobs and businesses in here? We gotta figure out a way to do that. People before you have tried, and we haven't succeeded, but the mill gives us that opportunity, but
Again, I think a Pike entrance
That changes it all.
and the way that
Ain't
the
gonna
Pike
happen.
is
I'll
done
get
now,
there.
we are right smack dab in the middle going east or west, where they don't have to put in another terminal
Oh.
for reading your Easy Pass.
Yeah, they
They're
don't, yeah.
existing, it's just a matter of getting it opened somehow.
Mhm.
it would cost millions and millions and I've talked to people at state government, it would never happen unless something like a major, like a Fidelity, I'm making this up, Fidelity or an Amazon, that would be the only way for this to be profitable for the.
Something large enough
to create
that
that.
the job
Right.
production from it would offset the cost
Yes.
of the.
And
yeah.
something, yes, and that's
I'm
the
I'm
only,
not entirely sure, but I think I've heard, transportation planners say that Mass DOT is not going to invest on what might be.
yeah,
Yes.
Right.
exactly.
They will consider investing on what's there.
What is.
And how can we help what's there.
Mhm.
But it's kind of a chicken egg thing,
Yeah,
right?
it really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Who came first?
Yeah, and that, since I moved here, we said we're gonna get the pipe, but, and I've talked to people high up and they said, what, there's nothing there.
To
Right.
build the entrance. to.
Right, it really doesn't, yeah.
Yeah.
At least the barriers are lower now. You don't have
Yeah.
to have a toll booth,
Yeah,
right?
That saves a
You just
lot.
need the ramps.
You just need the ramps and then the traffic control devices to obviously handle the traffic coming on and off.
Mhm. Yeah.
So whether it's onto, obviously on the Route 19 or whether it's onto Brook Road or Gilbert, that area,
That would be
depends on
right.
where you put
yeah.
it.
Or
I'm-
67.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know, I'm sorry, I live near there, it would destroy the value of my house and all the neighbors around there if we put a pipe where it is right now. But if we put it somewhere else that, with the gravel pits.
Well, I don't think it would destroy your value. I
It would-
think it would change it because then you would have a house that's situated within seconds of an exit to the most, the largest road in the state.
No, but, yeah.
So then you'd have people that, hey, I'd love to buy your house because that means I'm on the highway and on my way to work in 45 seconds after
But
I
on the
pull
flip
out of my
side here,
driveway.
hearing dump truckers all night, boom, 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 coming off the pipe.
Yeah, but you would, it's,
I'm
again.
just saying, It ain't gonna happen, so it's.
So I do know years ago,
Yeah.
regionally, Warren was part of like a tax increment financing program.
Yeah.
But it was regional, so it didn't really take hold so much here, but I mean, that's something that the town maybe could explore in the future in trying to lure new investments
But there are
into town.
plenty opportunities for exits throughout the town, doesn't have to be right where it is right now, that's what I'm saying. That would be more.
So
So
these
you
are all
give-
more
you give a
strategy
break
level?
to lower taxes on a business that wants to set up shop in town.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are more strategies, but what's that one step higher of the Mass Pike? Why? Like, what's that big goal? Like, why would you want a Mass Pike exit? Is it to attract more business? Is that what we want to put in the vision statement?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably the main
Yeah.
thing, that's my number one thing of putting it exits, to attract more business.
Business and business equals growth.
Right.
Business equals developments, equals housing, equals restaurants,
Right.
equals services,
Yeah.
grocery
Tax
stores,
base.
drug supermarket, I mean, drug, CVS type deal,
Yeah.
whatever.
Pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceutical, drugs.
Drugs,
Same
yeah.
way.
Actually, the largest drug dealers in the world, they frequent our houses,
Yes, they do. It's
With
a
our-
scanner
with
once in
our-
a while. No, but,
prescription medication.
but no, that would be it, that would be the ultimate, yeah, to get somebody.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a survey of other towns, whether it be in Mass or outside of Mass, that are very rural, that have developed their towns where people are actually attracted to go there? Has there ever been any surveys as to how they did that?
Like a
And-
blueprint to
Yeah.
development.
I think the towns that do the best financially while being very rural have that strip in the village center with the tight businesses and the signs that hang down and like the pretty sidewalks that people can park their car and take a trip and go to like a vintage store to a restaurant. I think that's kind of the direction we're moving instead of gobbling up all of the space in a town to secure everything in one area. And that can help a lot to bring people in if a rural town seems to be that like charming way.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
It also helps to have a brand, of course.
Yeah.
Sturbridge being an extreme example. But if a town, what was it, Gardner was known for furniture stores,
Mhm.
and there are others that are known for like shoes. You have like 5 or 6 shoe stores, and people will come from far and wide to be like, this is the place you buy shoes. So having that brand, whether it be historical, if you want to lean into the mill element or another element, or more commercial of this is what you can expect here, can also help.
So Turner's Falls, right, the Bridge of Flowers.
Mhm.
Yep.
And don't they have those like kettle bowls? Is that Turner's Falls? Right, where the water
Well, the
carves
rocks
bowls?
have this, yeah, with the
And the
turbulence,
stone.
yeah.
Shelburne, Shelburne?
Shelburne
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 Falls. Shelburne Falls, that's it, yeah.
Or you could go the weird way. We have the biggest rubber band ball in the world. That's another way rural
Yeah.
towns really get people to come.
Started making it.
Yeah.
Everybody chew gum for a year.
I got a ton of rubber bands at home.
There you go.
Yeah.
Start
I
right
mean, it's
there.
silly, but it's real. I mean, even like wives' tales, people hear there's a ghost in Warren.
Why do people go to Salem?
Mhm.
Witches.
We had that like Frenchy, that thing in the 80s, the devil possession thing.
But for the purpose of the vision statement, what I'm hearing is friendly to businesses, open to.
Welcoming arms for businesses,
What's that?
opening your arms for businesses, embracing business opportunity. Senior leadership is embracing, I'm just throwing things out there.
Yeah.
Have we had a business in the last year that wanted to come to Warren? Anybody know?
Oh, there's a car business that wants to come to town right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just bought the old Chrysler dealership in
Yeah.
Spencer's Auto.
That's
and
exciting.
Wants to bring their business to town.
They bought the Chrysler building?
Yep.
Yep.
The Spencer's Auto,
Spencer's.
yeah.
How much was it?
I don't know what they paid.
I thought they wanted to look at that for the police station.
Yeah,
No.
No.
Not suitable.
No.
They sold to another
Guy from
like
Spencer.
yeah, a car person that fixes.
No.
And,
Yeah.
deals
More
with
specialty auto.
specialty auto.
Especially like hot rodding.
Oh, was that the kids that were at the meeting a couple of weeks ago? No, that wasn't it. Okay. Never mind.
So the problem with attracting businesses is the
Yeah.
town itself has nothing that they can do. Well, the tools are limited. So if the owners of the mill were asking $100 million for that mill, it'll never sell.
No.
There's nothing we can do about it,
No.
right? So a lot of it's out of our hands, right? I mean, it's up to them to sell it or develop it,
Yeah.
right? It's hard.
Mhm.
Same with the bank. It's up to the owner of the bank to find, we don't look for businesses, but they've gotta find, I don't know, market it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
And same with the land.
sell it for a reasonable
Yeah.
price,
Same with land.
That's it.
And if they don't do that, then we're sort of stuck.
Yeah.
Was it?
So it's hard,
Some
I know
towns
there
do
was-
take on more of an economic development commission role too, and helping with marketing.
Mhm.
Be kind of like a similar vibe to CDAC, of like a level of committee, or tapping into the regional chamber of commerce
Hmm.
as ways that towns can sort of get involved, just to kind of tell people what's out there and more of the existing conditions that people might not know going into it. Here's the zoning, that kind of stuff, and writing blurbs. Like, for example, Rutland did it for the Rutland Heights development. They made a brochure about what to expect if you were to buy this land, how the town would be very excited to try to work with you, that kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What about housing? What do we want to write about housing in the mission statement?
Like I say, that's kind of, it leans in multiple directions, so it's hard to pinpoint. It was kind of very broken as whether, people wanted single-family houses, they wanted, more senior housing, or 55-plus communities, or condominiums, or just low income, or whatever. I mean, it was kind of split on all of that. Like, there wasn't one area that everybody's like, yes, this is what we want to build here.
Certainly when contrasting it to other areas of the state,
Yeah.
it's presently very affordable,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it probably will be that way for a little while to come anyways, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that can be exploited, is it wants to bring more people to town, and maybe you create your own vibrancy, and so.
It's not affordable as it used to be, though. I'll give you an example. Mountain View Apartments up there,
Mm-hmm.
their studios used to be less than $400 a month. Now they're $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the market.
And they're all full.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
And
$1,000
$400
is
a month,
still
if
reasonable.
half of them would be.
Yeah,
In
you're right.
today's
It
market.
It's
is.
amazing in today's market.
In
You're right.
today's
$1,000 a month is actually a reasonable.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
I
rent.
do think there are many properties in town that we have to keep an eye on in terms of maintaining their integrity. I know people are interested in how we can preserve those mill housing down there off of River Street. It's a piece of your history, and by the way it's structured, in terms of ownership, it's hard to find specific funding sources that would, like maintain the envelope of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all independently owned and
So is it better to focus on what we have as opposed to
I
just
think
saying,
so.
well, we
You've
need
got
more? and-
tremendous assets that need to be exploited more. And the classic example is Lucy Stone. Quabog River is probably one of your most beautiful, best assets you have, as well as your historic structures, which are either underutilized or not utilized, or,
Yeah.
So, there's the West Warren Community Hall. If nothing's gonna be done with that, could that be housing? Even the bank downtown could be housing maybe, I don't know.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
What do we have right now that we could convert or better utilize?
Like you said, the issue with a lot of those properties, those two you just mentioned in particular, are both privately owned.
I
Yeah,
did
So
see
it's
the
up to
community
what
center,
they wanna do.
yeah.
on the commercial real estate.
Yes. Yeah. But
I
it's
don't-
not like the town's gonna buy it and fix it up.
No.
We're not interested in buying properties and investing money in them, so it's more about getting somebody else to buy it and fix it up for us, so we get to come and enjoy whatever activities you're offering.
So, Sarah, it seems like Warren and similar communities don't seem to have access to the type of developers like a immediate Springfield or immediate Worcester area would have. How do we get people like that interested into, taking a look at what's here?
Self-serving, I'm gonna say a great vision statement,
Yeah.
honestly, because if a developer doesn't wanna waste their time talking to a town that doesn't want them to be there,
Yeah.
and if they could Google Town of Warren, read your master plan, and say, my proposal matches your goals, your values, your vision for this town, that could be helpful.
Okay.
Here's what I have so far. Warren is a traditional New England mill town that offers natural landscapes, scenic roads, and adventure. Ripe for opportunity, we embrace new business opportunities. Our historic homes welcome residents from all walks of life.
Pretty good start.
That's a nice start, yeah.
What do you think is
Start.
missing? Something about
Is it
community?
still a mill town or a former mill town?
Well, it's-
Traditional
we're
Milltown?
Traditional
Traditional.
Milltown.
Well, we have a great school system as well.
Talk about education a little bit.
Yeah.
I would. It's rated like top 5, I think.
So talking about kind
And the
of
access
keeping that good.
Warren has to,
Yeah.
In between Springfield and Worcester.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're-
yeah, how-
Yeah.
We're
that's
halfway,
why-
we're halfway to everywhere.
And Hartford
There you
too.
go.
Remember that, we're
We're
halfway to
everywhere.
everywhere.
We're 45 minutes.
Let me trademark that slogan.
If you make a cool enough
Really?
sign that people can take
How
pictures
far
of.
south?
Okay, we're halfway to everywhere.
45 miles.
That's a
45
real,
minutes.
that's a really
Edge
good
of it.
statement.
Yeah, we're not.
I like
I've always
that.
felt that way. I'm like, we're in the middle of everything. You're never there, but you're always about halfway.
We
Yeah.
are. Springfield.
So I tell
Hartford.
people, come meet me in my house in
Yeah.
Warren. We're halfway there.
I know that depot is gonna be constructed in Palmer, which is less than 5 miles
Well,
away.
we're halfway there.
We're halfway
Yeah.
to Ray. We're halfway to Palmer. Come on.
Is a new depot going in there?
Yeah.
Train depot?
Yeah, the east-west
Yeah.
rail.
Yeah.
East-west
Is it
rail.
it was a, okay.
Well, the depot's there.
Yeah, I know it
Oh
is.
yeah, it's
It's
gorgeous.
under
Well, they're
Yes.
building a new one.
Yeah. But the fact that it was already still really established with the restaurant and everything being there, and again, that town is based around the railroad, plain and simple.
Well, and it's not far. It's only a few miles from here. That would be a great.
Well, that's the
But
nice thing, we're halfway
Public
there.
public transportation.
So it seems like we're all embracing what we have,
Yeah.
improving what you have, and exploiting what you have, you know? And, you know, like I said, going back to that 21st century, small, vibrant town, you know? And finding a way to, like you said, bring technology to Cutter Park
Yeah.
and
That
all
would be
these different
huge.
places, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like at Lucy Stone, and part of the plan, the hopeful plan was to have an interpretive signage that was also interactive.
Yeah.
And I think that they're still talking about that maybe, right?
Yeah.
So you could scan your phone over the signs and you could do interactive.
Could
stuff.
bring in all the links and
Yeah.
everything that are associated with it, yeah.
And certainly the outdoorsy thing, it can be exploited as well in terms of hiking and fishing and hunting was left off the survey, but
Yeah.
I know that's a popular thing here in town.
Definitely.
And with areas to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Oh, yeah. And it was funny, you mentioned like camping. We used to have a campground,
Yeah.
the KOA in West Warren,
Top of North.
top of North Street.
North Street,
Who
yeah.
owns that property?
The
state
state, the
wildlife.
Fish and Wildlife bought it.
Maybe
And
we
I
can
don't know,
exploit
Jerry,
that.
you of all people know of all these wet areas that we have throughout the town. I mean, there's a beauty, natural beauty associated with those that
Oh, yeah.
it's very becoming. I mean, you know, up off of Reed Street and, West Brookfield Road. And I know they do cause you problems,
Yeah.
but they're also very attractive.
Mhm.
Are they utilized, can they be utilized for anything? Certainly canoeing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely canoeing, but again, you're still dealing with the factor that most of those places are surrounded by private property. So it's not like
So gaining access.
Gaining access to those places is probably the most difficult task to overcome. If you could work with landowners, I mean, the ponds on, obviously we deal with the issue on Old West Brookfield Road. yeah, that's beautiful, you know, a nice place. So Kevin Dorman owns a large portion of land on one side, the Blackwells own most of the land on the back side, and then the west side of the water is individually owned by there's multiple lots all the way down one side. So,
So maybe a
Do you see-
tourism map or an, what would you call outdoor, a recreation guide, recreation map, you know?
Yeah.
Here's, you know, if you wanna fish, here's the 5 good fishing places. If you wanna hike, here's a good place to hike.
yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
the value above that? Kind of bringing people in for like that ecotourism aspect,
I guess so,
Yeah.
yeah.
recreation, open space.
Recreational adventures. Yeah, come on, come to Warren.
Yeah, ecotourism sounds bigger than just recreation opportunities.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Cool. Anything we
Alright.
want to add? Just the last thing about government, community, people, quality of life. Any of those topics?
No, like I said, the idea of having some sort of government, like consolidated video or attachment to inform people on our local government. I mean, that would be, you know, an awesome thing to have, but it's a matter of how do we, develop something like
I
that.
think you could have a once a month thing with our cat where
Yeah.
different people, either someone like yourself or Rich or
Yeah.
Dr. Chair, invites a guest and you talk about whatever the
Topic
is
is,
of the month, you
it's
know?
like a podcast, exactly.
The one in Ware is every week, it's a half hour on the public.
It's a little ambitious.
Yeah, let's start with once a month and maybe we'll get somewhere else.
Well, they just do the video and then
Yeah.
they show it on whatever night it's scheduled. It's not a big deal, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So the value behind that would be an accessible government, or a different word?
Yeah, accessible is a good way to describe it.
Certainly, that's a common theme, Rich, that keeps on emerging about, you know, I see in your board meetings, and you trying to engage the public trying to find out what's going on here. It's like
Yeah.
a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I think I have enough to work with.
All right.
Pat, I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in.
Oh,
the
perfect.
whole Video
Yay.
idea.
Absolutely.
So that is something that's actually fairly easily in the realm of possibilities.
Okay.
It take a little bit of investment on our part, but not
Not a lot.
a lot, and we have the funding for it.
Yeah.
The big thing would be somebody that would be willing
To
to
go,
be the person in front of the
I like your
camera.
idea.
Yeah.
I know that ain't me.
the central figure that guides us.
Yeah,
through.
somebody
Well, it can
that,
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well known.
Yeah.
from camera.
one of the things we are working on is getting the school more involved.
Mhm.
We're doing an install there, and the ultimate goal is there's gonna be a second channel dedicated to the school system,
Oh, wow.
Well,
and trying to have the kids more involved, so potentially that could be something that's tied in with the schools, is
Yeah.
having the kids maybe.
You could have the kids be responsible for, like, pick a student for each month and how they
here's, all right.
help lay
Yeah,
out.
yeah, that comes
the
out
program.
there, cause
Mhm.
Mike's picking it
Oh.
up.
I mean,
So,
I was trying-
that's it. It's
It's
like,
getting
you know,
warmer.
It is
Warren,
getting
the
warmer,
June
yeah.
recap, you know, it's like, boom, brought to you, so-and-so, some student or
I
whatever.
couldn't figure it out.
And then that student could narrate and take us on the adventure of all the things that happened in that month.
I think we'll struggle.
Or
So
Jim
I think-
Ferrara could do it, he'd be the town manager.
Yeah, I don't think we need to give more to Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's got plenty of
I
work, he
think the
doesn't need more.
students, because
I
that would
like-
be
I
part of
love the
like
idea
their,
Yeah,
of
like I
their,
said, somebody, you know,
Civics.
that's I was just thinking about it too with, Derek had the school here, that'd actually be, you know, really good for like those civics classes, as they could,
Yeah.
you know, all right, here's your homework assignment,
Yeah.
review the meeting and get all the bullet points and that.
And the
'Cause
kids
I know.
will learn how to do politics, yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
and, you know, you have the kids that do the video editing courses.
Do they have a newspaper at that school?
No, cause,
Okay.
but I know like
Like a newsletter? Yeah.
their morning announcements, they actually do like YouTube Live,
Oh,
and
okay.
a group of students record and do the morning announcements. They send the link out to all the kids,
Oh, that's
and they just
great.
watch that during their advisory period.
Nice.
And like I said, with the AV courses there, that'd be something, you know, I can talk with them about getting
Yeah.
them involved,
Yeah.
let the kids put it together and
And I
now.
think that people in town would like to hear the kids, so that would be
Oh,
awesome,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's some of the stuff we're kind of working towards.
Okay, good.
Cool.
But I can definitely kind of
Put yourself
go
into a
go
race.
go with the
perfect.
school a little more, and hey, this idea got brought up, and
Yeah,
see what teachers we could get involved.
yeah.
Because I know years ago, we used to have students work in the town clerk's office. And they would come in and they would set up for the town meetings and
Mhm.
do that. And that was all part of their civics classes.
Man, so yeah, the idea, that idea involving students based upon, like I said, a hot recap of the month or whatever, however we want to break it apart.
No,
I
every
said-
week, I think would be awesome.
Well, again, let's see if we can get it started for once a month, and then if we get enough involvement, maybe we can increase that to every other week, and then eventually, if it really has enough action, could do once a week.
Yeah.
But I think that would bring the residents of Warren more into the building and the thought process of how our government evolves, how we make decisions, you know, who we get information from, and how we utilize that information to do things around town.
I think, Jeremy, we could also, this group could consider inviting a guest periodically.
Yeah.
Quabog Community Development Corporation, Quabog Chamber of Commerce, you know.
Mhm.
Maybe periodically other staff person from CRPC, aside from
Yeah.
us, you know. West Mass Development, who knows, you know.
Yeah.
So they get to hear some of the things that we're talking about and engaging with, and they could share their thoughts and, you know.
Yeah, I like it. All good stuff, good idea, for sure.
Thank you,
Thanks
Travis.
for
Yeah, thank you, Travis.
You're welcome, but in for a raise.
Okay,
Okay.
so what do we think? We're pretty good right now, things are?
Okay.
So everybody has all set with the master plan for this month. I think we, you know, obviously covered a lot of ground and got a lot of good things moving forward, so.
Next month is housing.
That's it, housing, big
What are you
housing
thinking,
next
Cap,
month.
son?
All right.
And please, whoever wants to come.
Hey, are we ending soon, or?
Well, we're gonna move, yeah, we're moving on from the master plan to our other grant, updates. That's all.
Okay, I just got, has any action on the mill yet? Anybody interested or
No word.
No word, nothing.
nothing?
So,
Well, actually,
Sarah, thank you very much.
you know what, is it possible?
Nice job, by the way.
Yeah.
Is it possible on the mill to have the owner, let's say, sell it to the town for like $1, let's say, or whatever might work, right? You know, they're not maybe gonna get a buyer, right? And then have the town take the property, and there's 15 buildings on there, right?
Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Okay, so split the buildings, and maybe the town can sell them individually, right?
I don't think the owner wants to sell it. I don't think he wants to sell it.
He wanted to sell it as one lump
One
sum.
lump sum,
I know,
yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, so, let's say he can do it, some kind of transaction to the town, right? And the town in return could maybe get the building or the area that they wanted to put the police station in before as a payment. But what I'm saying is they could sell 15 buildings, let's say at 500,000, there'd be a lot more buyers, right?
Mhm.
Plus, I think then each building would qualify for that $1 million housing. So that'd be like 15 million bucks. So it's gonna be cheaper to buy, there's gonna be more incentive to buy. Who's gonna come up with 8 or 10 million bucks? You know, if you have people trying to buy it for $500,000 or less, he'll get his money, and we could maybe get a police station down there. You know, see if he's interested. I'm sure there's a lot of work involved, but
Mhm.
it's a possibility.
It's an idea for sure.
Mhm.
Wow. All right, I think, we good with that now, or we're gonna just, let's move on to, other grant programs, MVP and so on. Chris, do you wanna be involved in this, or John?
You want to do that? Well, go ahead. All
What do you
right. So, first off, we were thinking maybe in the future, we kind of, maybe instead of separating them all out, maybe just make one
One.
line item out of it. try to thin things out a little bit more moving forward.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I don't know much about as you know, it was just a hazard mitigation plan, and I think that effort's ongoing.
Yes.
Do you know anything about the hazard? No.
I don't know.
So Andrew Lowe is our contact, maybe for next meeting, try to get an update on what's happening with the hazard mitigation
Okay.
plan. Okay? Open space and recreation planning, so we've talked about it a little bit here with the master plan.
Yep.
You do have an accepted open space and recreation plan, and that plan will allow the town to pursue grants through DCR for both physical things and acquisition. So, like, maybe there's property around Cummins Pond that's still available, you know, that could be secured. Maybe there are things along Lucy Stone or nearby that could be secured. And she mentioned the recreation department, but obviously conservation would be involved in this too, you know. There's always a balance, you know, you take land for open space and preservation, it could prohibit, you know, economic development opportunities.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're all sort of saying that this will lead to more prosperous economic development in that you're investing in things that are of interest in town. So just want to mention that you do have the open space and recreation plan, so you could do acquisition as well as park improvements. One stop for growth, the Prospect Street thing is nearly 100% complete. I think we're just trying to wrap up the numbers, and there might have been a little left over that we were thinking could be used for some purpose, but that just installed the water line and did some drainage improvements.
Yep.
Highway Department will follow up with resurfacing at some time in the future, perhaps the fall. Otis Street, John?
Yeah. They finished all the subsurfaced work.
Okay.
So that's good news there. And I just drove up there before the meeting, and it looks like they're just at the corner of Otis and School Street with full depth reclamation. It looks like they're digging up the road there. So
Yeah.
I think they're about to turn corner, go down to Otis.
Okay. Good.
Okay, that one stop also funded the master plan, and Sarah just wanted me to reiterate, the CMRPC is gonna work with the town to apply for the phase 2 of master plan. I think it's a $50,000 grant, involves a small match from the town, and this will do the other 4 or 5 different categories of the master plan. I think, what did we not see up there? I forgot what they were. But a master plan has 9 elements. We're covering like 5 of them as
Yeah.
part of phase 1, and the other 4 as part of phase 2. Okay, and that's due next week. John and I would like to talk a little bit about, I'm jumping ship here, let me see, 25. John did help the town submit for a 25 One Stop for Growth. And that part of what he did was seeking design funds for Pulaski Street, next to the mill. So,
Nice.
you know, everything we're moving towards, trying to make things right for
Yep.
someone to be interested. And in addition to that, what else? There was a zoning effort that was also zoning bylaw rewrite, something like that.
Oh, it's called a diagnostic.
Well, no, that's already was funded.
Oh, yeah,
And she's
okay.
working on that, but the next step of that was to help the town do a zoning bylaw rewrite.
Yeah.
And that was a part of the one-stop application as well, that CMRPC will help the town with. Jeremy continues to work on complete streets when he has the time.
Yeah, here and there.
I know that Green Communities, I know that another staff person from our office has been working with Jim to develop the next application for Green Communities. Perhaps we'll get an update from Mr. Farrar at our next meeting. Wrights Mill EDA updates, I'm sorry I don't have any updates from the consultant down there, but I know that they've been meeting regularly with people, discuss, you know, like, they're analyzing what are some of the impediments to a developer being interested in investing in Wrights Mill. So hopefully that plan will roll out soon. I know they were simultaneously doing a survey. Did you see anything?
I didn't. see
Okay,
this.
maybe they were waiting to put some time and space in between the master plan and that.
So maybe they're good to invite to like the
Yeah, we should
economic
bring Weston and
development.
Sampson in, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, there is a real estate agent in Springfield that is working with the owner to actively promote and to try and sell the facility. That's all I know, okay? Let me see, the ADA transition plan, I think it's gotta be complete by June 30th, so I know that consultant that's doing that is just about done with that.
Right here.
Oh, it is done.
There it is.
Okay.
It's pretty thick.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna fall apart. Yeah.
All right. So the
Yeah, quick
ADA
read.
plan, transition plan, it analyzes all your public facilities within the community, both buildings and open areas like parks and whatnot. And it looks for things that are not compliant with the current ADA laws, that's federal, as well as the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, which is state, and what is not compliant, and what does the town need to do to transition into compliance. And that plan that Mr. Ihacker was holding up, essentially the blueprint for how the town can make those necessary improvements moving forward. The great thing about that is there's multiple funding sources that are available to address handicapped accessibility. Now, community development block grants. I know our account is growing a little bit. We'll have to get an update from our treasurer for the next meeting, but we do have some funds that are available for miscellaneous purposes, community development purposes, I would say. FY21 CDBG is the School Street Improvement Project Phase 1, which installed the water line and the wall on School Street. It's done, 100%. We have a little bit extra money, so we're going to hold a public hearing on July 11th. John has helped prepare the notice, which is now, will appear in the Ware River News tomorrow. And as part of that public hearing, we're going to talk about using the excess money from that School Street project to do some improvements at the senior center.
Okay.
It's not a lot of money. I want to say 18,000, but don't hold me to that figure. So they need a new rear door for security purposes, and I guess it's starting to rot out. There's something wrong with their hatchway.
Yep.
And we talked about fencing, but I know I watched the board meeting. You were also talking about fencing, so.
Well, just some sound block
Yeah.
on that
So
unit.
we're gonna be purchasing some stuff possibly tomorrow and then hopefully installing it next week.
So should we keep that as a topic for our 18th meeting? If some sort of funding can help, or,
For the noise blocking?
yeah,
No, I think
No,
this is,
I think-
we just
I think
approved like $600.
$600 to
Nothing.
buy
so nothing a little bit more extensive with CDBG?
I think,
assistance?
I
right
think
now.
we're gonna, yeah, I think there was conversation about looking to replace that unit.
Yeah.
Maybe potentially through the green communities.
Jim,
With
what-
that being on the radar, something we're working towards, I think the noise situation, we're kind of just looking to put a temporary fix on it, just to get us from where we are now to when we can replace that unit to something that's obviously a lot more modern, will be probably much smaller and a lot more noise friendly.
And probably
Right.
co-
Our
cost
director down
effective.
there also mentioned something about her delivery bay and,
Yeah.
so I guess we'll work with her and we'll
Yeah.
see what she needs, and we'll bring that as discussion at the public hearing on July 11th. So that public hearing is gonna talk about reusing some of that leftover FY21 CDBG money for the senior center. It's also going to serve as a performance hearing for the current FY24 22-23 CDBG. Thank you, John. Now, the 22-23 CDBG is the second phase of School Street, which is it's doing all the drainage system, it's doing the streets and the sidewalk resurfacing, and there was some minor sewer repair, and that is moving along quite swiftly, right? I think all the subsurface stuff is done, John?
Mhm.
Any other thing to report that you're aware of interest with that project?
I mean, the contract is moving forward with doing all of the surface-related sidewalk street at this point.
Mhm.
Seems to be going at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should be in pretty good position by the end of the summer.
Yeah, I know I spoke with the contractor today, and we're moving as quick as we can to potentially, if the weather allows it, to pave the binder layer next week.
Wow, okay.
So, just to lock it in before the 4th of July.
So some very
That's what we're hoping for. Again, it depends on the weather.
Some minor things happen here and there. It's what happens when you're trying to rehabilitate an old neighborhood where you don't know where things are.
Yeah.
But these things are typically have been addressed right away, from what I understand. Okay, so that's moving right along, and we're well under budget on that activity as well. So when it's done, we'll have the opportunity to discuss, well, is there an opportunity to reprogram any of those funds? And we want people to weigh in on that project on July 11th, 6 o'clock with the Board of Selectmen, okay?
On that senior center?
Yes,
you're
sir.
talking about?
Yeah.
How about one of those Mitsubishi units, Jeremy?
Well,
Yeah, well, we'll see.
we're not
what-
at that point
We're
yet.
not that to exactly what we're gonna be, but it's in the grant that we're applying for the
Because
grant
it does
community.
heat and AC,
Yeah,
so you could use.
well, that is what they were
So now there's a
talking about.
consultant that works with the Green Communities Program that helps the town, right?
Yeah,
Identify, it's gotta be some sort of green technology.
It is
that-
green,
Okay,
yeah.
so the
Yeah.
consultant will work with the town to identify what's the most efficient and, you
Yeah,
know,
they put them in all the units at the housing up there, they're fantastic.
Hmm.
And we have 2 electrical things for electric cars,
Oh, nice.
which the town doesn't even have.
No, we do not.
No.
So CMRPC helped the town submit an FY24 application to the Community Development Block Grant Program. When was that, March 26 or something like that? Yeah, so that program is seeking funds to rehabilitate River Street in West Warren, begin to rehabilitate Central Street. Unfortunately, we won't have the adequate funds to do a 100% job on Central Street, but we're gonna start with water and some of the subsurface stuff. So presumably, that will be a phase 2 thing. You know, we often have to phase these things because there's just not enough money in the grant to do everything that you wanna do. And that grant is also seeking funds to design improvements for Cutter Park. So very excited about that. So John also wanted to begin to engage you about FY25 activities. It's never too early to start talking about it. And John and I have been sort of racking our brain. Unfortunately, we don't think we'll have any town common design
No.
ready to seek funds for that. And plus, we want that to be a fully engaged process, right?
Yeah.
So we're not advancing anything with the town common at this point in time, other than trying to get people together to agree on a design.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we won't have anything ready for Cutter Park either. So that can't be part of the 25. So we were thinking a little bit outside of the box. And at one point in time, I said, was it Highland View or?
Hillside?
Hillside, yeah.
Hillside.
I was saying that's gonna be on the water district and the highway, but we were rethinking it and thinking that could be our final School Street neighborhood project, Hillside Terrace, as a possibility. Reinstall a new water line and do whatever road improvements are necessary. How many houses are on that street? Or people that live, housing units, I should say.
Like a dozen,
Yeah, I would say between 8 and 12.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
right? They just had a water issue up there too, didn't they?
yeah.
They shut
Yeah.
down the water for like a day or two to
2
fix
days.
something?
2
Well, that
Yeah.
was associated with our Otis Street project, I think, you know.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So we know that the line there is very old though, right? And at one
Very
point in time, the
old.
water district was looking at a way to do it, but we'll see if we can. But we need to have that income survey,
Yep.
you know. So that, I don't know how much that project would cost. It'd have to be pretty small. It's a pretty
Yeah,
short
that's
street.
not gonna be.
Say 200 to 300 maybe.
I was
don't
gonna
know.
say, I would put it in a similar ballpark to what Otis costs.
Yeah, okay. All
They
right.
have sewer there too?
I would imagine it
Yes,
would be,
they
yeah.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if that is one of the projects we agree on,
Mhm.
you know, we certainly, well, we have to start with the income survey, then we engage the sewer department, the water district, and the highway to see exactly what should be done. And we don't have a design for it, so it'd have to be a design
Design.
and construction activity. And we lose a couple points on the grant, but I think it'd be okay. What else do we have lined up, John? Oh, yeah, Phase 2 Central Street.
Yep.
So that will definitely be a project. You know, we want to see how far we can get with the 20, well, we haven't gotten the 24
No,
yet.
we don't know
So
yet.
I'm hoping. We should actually hear any day, by the way, probably in July, I would think, about whether that 24 grant has been funded or not. I'm pretty confident. So John and I have another interesting project. Similar to the School Street neighborhood, we want to sort of create an identity for another neighborhood in Warren Center, off of Southbridge Road, and kind of just short of Burbank, that neighborhood. Washington, right. What was it? We say the southeast Warren Center neighborhood. We gotta come up with a better name, but what is there? There's
So like, are you talking like Parkview, Elm?
there's like 7 or 8 of them, John. and I-
The
Carpenter.
worst street in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the worst street in the town.
Yeah.
No.
So whatever that neighborhood is, that's
Liberty
just
Street.
kind of
Yeah, Liberty.
northeast of Southbridge,
Then you
right?
go
Yeah.
up.
Inside of Maine,
Kai's,
Kai's,
Jones.
Keys, Kai's, right?
Yeah.
Jones,
So from
Jones.
Washington down to,
Yeah,
Uh,
like
Park.
I generally refer to it as the Washington Street neighborhood.
yeah.
Because everything on that side of Southbridge Road is kind of, it's all, everything, every one of those streets pretty much dumps back to Washington Street.
Yeah.
With the exception of like Liberty, Elm, and Carpenter, that's its own little cluster in the middle.
So
But it's
we,
all connected.
we look at it, it looks like it's an area that has infrastructure needs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
certainly
Yes,
an
I
older
agree.
section of the town.
Well,
And so we need to find a way to make it eligible, qualified for CDBG. So
Oh, I
John
think
is gonna
it's
work
qualified.
with other people in our office to look at the block group census data and see if somehow the state will allow us to apply the census data to get it started and approved as a planning project.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're a little bit easier when they want to fund a planning project, you know? So, that's how School Street neighborhood started, with a planning project. Identify what's there, identify what the needs are, what are its deficiencies, and put together a phasing strategy and move forward, So
I like it.
that's another interesting project. Oh, and we have one more. So, near Wrights Mill, Pulaski Street, and kind of just nearby, maybe up to A Street.
Yeah. Connor and A Street are
I
in.
know. So we want to create an area, let's call it an opportunity zone. Officially, the state likes to call it an area of slum and blight.
Yeah.
And if it's designated as such, that will make that specific area eligible for CDBG funding for a 10-year period.
Oh, wow.
So we'd like to work, beginning with you, Jeremy, the highway, and maybe the water, this West Warren Water and the sewer, to look at what makes sense in terms of, we know certainly along Pulaski Street, right?
Mhm.
And then we were saying, there are other pockets nearby that might fit the bill. They're saying the criteria is essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, we have to analyze every property, whatever geographical area we decide.
Okay.
And if more than 25% of the things that we look at and analyze are determined to be in relatively poor condition, that would qualify the area for this designation. So, it's something to think about.
It's definitely worth a
Yeah.
shot looking at it.
The
for sure.
CEO would have to sign the document in the request, asking for this designation,
Okay.
But it allows to do projects in that area for 10 years with CDBG funds. So, could be water, could be a lot of different
A
things,
lot of
really.
stuff in there. Yeah.
So, was that it? Was that our list? Yeah. So that was, and I don't know if you guys had any other projects that we should be thinking about at this point in time.
I did want to circle back a tiny bit to miscellaneous funds if we're done with CDBG projects.
Yeah, so we talked about all that we have, and we talked about what we hope to get moving forward.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. That's the only thing I want to bring it back is we ran into a little issue with School Street this week. Through the survey, property survey, we found that we own a section of a staircase leading up to the church, which is obviously part of it's right comes right through where our sidewalk is, and identifying. I think it needs a little bit of a little love. It doesn't need a complete rehab. I think railing needs to be repaired. There's a broken railing that's definitely unsafe. A couple of the tread are cracked, and there's one that's kind of chipping off. I think cleaning it and new resurfacing. They have epoxies and different types of concrete now that kind of adheres to the current surface as long as it's prepped properly. And I know funding sources I don't think it's eligible to be paid for with the CDBG funds. So we'd have to come up with alternative funds to support that project. But that project it definitely ties in to the street and completing that area. So
What occupies it? What's in there? I mean, does anyone know?
It's just basically we don't even know what. Well, I mean, obviously we know we own the up section of the staircase. So it's like
No, I mean, what activity is occurring there?
Oh, the church services. They're there all the time.
Oh, okay.
They have a lot of church.
They are
services.
active.
Oh yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we just looked at it, and yeah, it's not in great condition. It doesn't
No.
look good, and it's part of the downtown. I guess our boss weighed in, and he didn't think it was eligible, because our grants, when we write them to serve a specific beneficiary group, and that beneficiary group is the residents of School Street,
Yep.
not a commercial property that abuts School Street. So it'd be a stretch for us to try and use CDBG funds for that purpose.
Mhm.
But I think it addresses the mission, though,
Yeah.
and that's we're trying to make Warren Center more attractive, more improve it, revitalize it, So
And that staircase is a reflection of the project in that area. Obviously, it's we own a part of it. I think we are obligated to, fix it up, at least repair it to where it's safe to navigate. I think it's not that it's necessarily unsafe now. It's just deteriorating, and it's time to fix it now to go with the street, the sidewalk, and the area.
Is that
Yes,
it?
that lower staircase right there.
So not here.
Not so that the
Well, that
property
needs
line
some
is
work,
a
too.
little there. So there's a pad in between the two staircases
Right
right
here.
there that was paved over with bituminous. So they used asphalt over concrete.
Ah.
So that is not very pleasant. And the first stair tread going down from that surface
Oh, like
is
right.
all broken up.
Okay.
So that tread itself needs to be rebuilt and at least some of that asphalt cut away. And then the railing that goes down along the street there is also, like I said, it's broken at the bottom, so. Right behind it.
Look at that.
Keep spinning, there it is,
Yep,
right
there it
there,
is.
there's the staircase.
So that
So
whole
that
thing
section
up to
is
here
what we pretty much own, most of that.
So actually,
Hmm.
there's no stairs.
So the property line is like up here
It cuts
somewhere?
right across that embankment right there, yep.
Okay.
So again, saying that that's would be something I feel deserves some attention.
you don't want to get in deep, though, right?
No, I'm thinking just, again, we repair the railing, clean, obviously maybe use pressure wash or clean, some sort of cleaning products, I'm sure, that help remove whatever there is from the concrete, and then resurface the concrete just to keep it from deteriorating quickly. We talked to the contractor about it. It's not a big project, just to give it a little more life. And I don't know, I just feel like it's something that it would be worth.
So, were there any funds in that miscellaneous account that we had from those homes that were sold and
Recaptures, yes,
recaptures?
yes. I'm not sure exactly what the number on miscellaneous funds is,
Was it
but
25?
yeah, I was gonna say
Yes,
it's
it's like
over
that.
$20,000. So if we were to use a small portion of that towards these stairs, it would essentially get us around the issue that there is very limited funding sources to pay for something like that.
Yeah.
So, again,
So why do we own that?
it's just the way when the street was laid out, that was the way it was surveyed and markered. We owned a certain right-of-way, and that right-of-way just so happened to fall into where they built those stairs.
So I mean, would that be something we could gift to the church?
I don't think we can, because we need most of that space, because our drainage runs on the bottom edge of that embankment. So you really, what are you gonna give the church? You're gonna give the church maybe half of what you own, but you're still gonna own the bottom of the staircase.
Not really. All right.
So it's kind of one of those deals, we're gonna dump it on them to fix it. They are already responsible for that middle landing and the upper section,
Well, because those stairs don't serve anybody except the church.
except the church.
That's the thing.
I understand that, but it's, again,
I
the
think it should
church,
be looked at though, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're,
Yeah.
it's essentially theirs, and,
yeah,
you know, maybe keep your easement, but
Yeah.
give them the property.
yeah,
I don't know. But that's not,
potentially.
the short thing is to try and do some
Well,
improvement.
that's it. I'm like I said, I'm not looking to spend a pile of money. I just think that it's something we need to address.
So you'll gather a number for.
That's what
next meeting?
we have to gather a number for the rehab for the stairs, and if it's something reasonable,
Mhm.
I think it would.
Did
be
you
a
want,
good
did
thing
you
to
want
follow.
it up to approval tonight, or do you wanna wait until you have a number, or?
Well, that's,
Yeah,
we
let's
don't
just-
have a number at all. We don't even have a ballpark.
He's
Until
worth-
somebody can say, hey, we're looking at $1,500 to $2,500.
Let's be clear though, you're not looking at any sort of rebuild.
No,
It's just a,
no.
more of
no,
a
no, no,
cosmetic,
no.
a
More
cosmetic. Yeah.
Just make the stairs, 100% safe again. Not to say that they're not safe, because I walked up and down them multiple times. Other than the railing wobbling around in your left hand because it's separated at the
So
bottom.
do you need a brand new railing on that?
No, it just needs to be re-welded to the base.
Mhm.
The
And I-
base was bolted improperly into the
Yeah.
into the I don't know if it's concrete,
Granite.
right, granite right there.
While we're-
And it was tension on it, and it eventually just snapped over time.
While we're here and have the picture up, I would like to make the point that the work that is on Main Street and then slightly going up School Street is Mass DOT work.
Correct.
It is not associated with our project. Our project is hopefully gonna try to marry what
Yeah.
Mass DOT has done, but, I
Yeah,
just
the
want,
existing
people-
concrete sidewalks that turn up the street, that is Mass DOT, that is not the town. And that's not CDBG either, no. So we have to match our stuff to theirs as best we can. So,
so they didn't do the handicapped accessible ramp this way, cause it was virtually impossible.
it was
to.
impossible
So
due
you
to
gotta
the
go across the
transition
street.
of the roads, because the road comes up slope comes so
Yeah.
steep. In order to put the angle proper to allow it to be a handicap ramp there, it's not even
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
So, that's what they made it so you have to cross the street, walk down the sidewalk, and then cross the street again to get back to the other side.
Yeah.
But just an idea, again, I need a quote first before I would even say it's something I truly
Yeah.
recommend.
Yeah.
And the contractor's working on that, so
He
they
is
should have
working
us
on it,
soon,
so-
yeah.
Okay. All right, very good, very good. All right, anything else here? We have,
What was that area that you're gonna name blighted, whatever?
An area near Pulaski Street, just south of the mill.
Is it residential?
yeah.
Part of it is.
Part of it is, yeah.
Well, they did that where through a neighborhood, and the residents were up in arms.
A resident,
A resident
Yeah.
was,
So
yeah.
I'm just saying, I remember that.
because, that's my job and John's job, to explain the benefits of doing this. And I convey that when and if this committee is on board with recommending that, and if that time should come to bear, we will explain quite
Sufficiently.
sufficiently and clearly why it's happening and what will the benefits of doing that will be. And the benefits are going to be 10 years of possible CDBG funding to make improvements in that area,
That's a big thing.
That's huge. getting that approval to use those funds in an area is half the battle.
And Pulaski Street in and of itself, I don't see ever getting CDBG funding because, well, there's one house on the end.
Yeah,
I think the rest are on Cottage Street, you know?
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, there might.
And that's a town
there
road,
are.
right?
Yeah.
So the mill isn't gonna make that improvements. So this all goes into what we can do as a community, Warren as a community, to make investment more
Yeah,
viable.
yeah.
You know?
Redoing the bridges, the roads and sidewalks and whatnot, infrastructure right around the mills definitely makes the mills more attractive. So plain and simple.
Right, thank you for laying it out very cleanly like that. Yeah.
Do you think there's any opportunity to, the mill, to bring that real estate lady in here to discuss it? What do you think we can do as, no,
I don't think so.
No.
okay.
They like to stay.
No, okay, no, I know, I'm just, here's what we're planning on doing.
Well, I'll tell you, the guy, the real estate agent from this, he called me and he said he was interested in taking a tour. So if he does that, I'll invite Jeremy and Mr. Ferrera.
Yeah.
And we do that, you know, so.
That'd be great, and all the things we're talking about here, I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, give him some talking points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Been cool.
okay.
So John and I are still working on the community development strategy.
Strategy.
He's still learning the town. I'm trying to convey all my
He
institutional
doesn't have all
knowledge.
your years of knowledge and experience.
But he's going along.
Put
We
a
take,
little thing up
we-
to his brain and suck
We've
it
taken a
out.
lot of drives, and he's learning fast, and you know, he's excited about it. So I think we got to do that. That would be a good exercise for this group to really lay out on paper what are the priorities, where they are, you know, and where do they fall on that priority list, and so forth and so on. So it's a ready tool when grants come along. We have something to
Yeah,
go
Yeah.
to. Yep.
like the Washington Street neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
And
the
that
Pulaski
needs a lot.
Street area, you know, or South Street.
Or the other thing is, what about, I know projects that were done 25 years ago already, that's something to go back to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
See what
Piecemeal.
condition they're in.
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
Basketball court at Dean Park, you know.
yeah, Dean Park
It's-
definitely has
it's-
some deterioration.
It's gonna have to
settling,
start,
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's gonna be, as we go
And
on,
those aren't
more and more
small
projects.
Before it gets too
fixes.
bad.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are actually relatively
grants.
expensive stuff. So.
I'm having a mind blank now. In West Warren, as you go up north, and then you take that first left. What street is it?
Chapel.
Chapel.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one of my projects, like
Yes, the other half of
22 years
Chapel.
ago, and it really starting to show its wear.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Water
Drainage
is
issues.
water does its damage. that's
So
for sure.
regarding the issue around the park, I think it's, you know, when I write these grants, John and I, we say that, you know, well, maintenance is going to occur through budget.
Yeah.
You know, and I know, you know, it's tough finding resources, but is that something we should look at? Do you need resources?
Well,
That
and I
miscellaneous
think
funds be brought into play?
the issues we have right now, like at Dean Park, are more structural in the sense that the ground is settled over the years. It's not a maintenance thing. You can't fix those problems with maintenance. When a whole portion of the basketball court drops 13 inches in elevation, so there's a big in the middle of the basketball court, that isn't something, oh, well, let's put a couple layers of sealant on here and it's going to stop this. That, you know, there are sidewalks that are dropping away in the back. Same thing. It's because so much of that park was essentially built on fill. 20 years later, the fill, everything settles and
It
shifts
was all
and moves.
sand and gravel and packed. I thought it
Oh,
really
no.
was gonna last forever. You know?
Well, as you get closer to the swamp side where it drops off, that whole edge there, everything is slowly moving away. So, and taking the sidewalk, the basketball hoop, and of course the side, both of those things are not very far from the building itself, and it's all taking it slowly downhill.
At the time,
Back to the sea.
the thing was to try and preserve the open space for,
Yeah.
you know, baseball, softball activities.
Which
and
is
stuff. Is that,
doing very well,
Yeah.
the rest of the park.
so again, I guess, you know, at some point in time, I think CDBG funds could be reconsidered as
To
a,
redo
a
parts of-
rehabilitation,
rehabilitation
you know,
of that
not
park.
maintenance, but rehabilitation. And certainly, as I mentioned before, DCR money could come into play,
Yeah,
so.
awesome.
Right?
Alright, so that's where we're set with strategies, visiting, old projects. Miscellaneous, new business, anything? Anyone?
No.
Anyone else? Alright, next meeting. We all set with we're gonna do, the fourth
24th?
Wednesday in July? Yeah, it's the 24th.
Is that, you think we maybe pass on July, or what do you think?
I won't be here, so.
You won't be here? Oh, if you're not here, we
You
can't.
can't.
Who's gonna run the
Let's pass it.
meeting?
Yeah, right.
Should we can't schedule one for next month, we got nobody to run ours.
I'll just be coming back from vacation myself.
No, but you can't skip because the master plan.
Yeah, we need the master plan.
I mean, if you
Is there
just
another day we can do that we'll all be here besides the 24th?
I think it's a tough month for everybody, cause everything.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean,
We can Zoom Rich
we
in wherever
can,
it
we
is.
can
It's
have,
80
we
or-
can have the meeting on the 24th and,
Yeah.
and whoever can make it, and whoever can't.
Yeah.
That's just-
It's probably.
Okay.
When did this deal with the milk and Sarah CMS, when did that start? And how did it start?
What deal?
Which one? Because there's two different, so there's a master plan involving the mill,
Right,
and then there's the master plan for the town.
right. the mill
Two
one.
separate things.
When did the mill one start?
Last year, right, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, we started it, yeah.
And how did
The
it come about?
application.
How did the two parties meet, or how
So
did it get
the
started?
people that were there at the mill, one of them was this guy Angel. He was in contact with the EDA. He hooked the town up with the EDA, and that morphed into doing a master plan, because that's what the EDA will fund,
Okay,
is a master plan which looks at how the town can support the mill.
so that got the
And then
300
CMRPC got on board to help, and
Right, but that got the 300,000 originally?
Is that
it
what
was
the EDA?
more than that.
Yeah, I think it
but-
was more than.
I mean, less than that.
Yeah, 200 and.
280.
Well, the grant wasn't up to 350, but not, it wasn't all needed, so
Yeah.
we reduced it, because whatever
Yeah.
had to be paid, there would be a match from the town, so
Yeah.
I mean,
So
Okay.
essentially,
So
call it
our,
300.
our match was last meeting, you guys, I think it was 30,000 to Sarah's place and 10,000 to Sampson. Payments made, was that part of the town's money that we had?
No.
No.
Those are paying invoices most likely.
Yeah, but one was to Sarah, her company.
Yeah, so the money rolls through the town and then we pay these companies that help us. That
So the
work
town
with us.
didn't have to pay anything? No money involved in that?
For the EDA master
There's a
plan, we
match.
paid 70.
70,000?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think the EDA paid like 280, or I don't remember.
So 350, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
70,000 though, huh?
Yep,
yeah.
it was like an 80-20 maybe,
And that
or
was a
I
year
think it was
ago?
something like that.
Yeah, a year ago?
roughly, yeah.
Yeah, and the finance committee didn't go crazy?
No,
They must
No.
have approved it, right?
no.
No,
Really?
It's a grant, we got a grant, and
Yeah.
we had,
We allocated
said, we
the
already
funds.
had some matching funds set aside and then
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
came up with the rest.
Because they've been on the warpath lately, I heard.
Honestly, I don't even know if FinCom was around at that point, it was so
No.
long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So our next meeting's the 24th.
Alright, the
Mr.
next
Chairman.
meeting's the 24th, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
We'll find somebody to replace Rich for the day.
Rich for the day, that'd be nice.
Rich for the
Yeah,
day.
for the
He's
day.
Well,
rich
if you
for a
wanna
day.
use your
Make sure
same
to do it
Zoom
online.
link, and you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just-
It's up to you guys, whatever easier for you, Rich.
Does it,
Just
as
let
long
me
as
know.
it's posted and we use the right one.
no, we
Okay,
should use the one that we've always been using.
I'll go back, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go back.
Yours.
Okay, but then I have to give him the password and stuff.
Ooh.
Oh, I see.
Because you gotta host it, that's what I'm saying, it's easier if you just use yours.
Do we have to, we don't have to do.
You don't have to, well, but we're trying to be open and transparent.
Well, I was gonna say, we can't, this committee that's trying to push everybody to be more open and involved
Who's
should
that? Get
shut
the
our,
person here to run it.
I don't know, we'll figure something out.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Yeah.
adjourn?
I'll second the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You gotta